Long ago, in a departed rural village on the island of Japan, there were rumors on behalf of a mysterious warrior, one who served no Kaiser or shogun, but rather dedicated their life to protecting said village. Eventually, as the Edo period came to a close, the samurai's service were placed on hold. The people of the village would place the warrior in a sealed kago. However, when the desired ultimate evil has made its appearance, so too will the samurai return. This is the tale of Mecha Geisha, a storyline from U.N.I.T.S. I'm AJ, and this is one of the 3 storylines in U.N.I.T.S. that occurs at the same time throughout the second half of 2014. Unlike Kingdom in the Sky and Prophecy, 2 of its companions, the main character, self-titled Mecha Geisha, is an original character of mine, but the character does interact with other astral souls and reflections. And if I have to be biased for a second, I kinda like this storyline the most. Why is that? Well, let's get into it. But first, it should be noted that you should watch the last 5 minutes of the epilogue of Digital Defenders for added context of Aisha running a zoo. And don't worry, these remaining storylines are not as long as that one. In August of 2014, it started out as an average day for the Great War Alignment Zoo. The astral owner, Aisha Clan, had been given the contract since February, which helped her support her friend circle. Occasionally, help came from other associates from the alignment, such as Asuka. However, that day would abruptly turn into a disaster as an ambush was carried out. The perpetrator of this attack would be a red-haired mistress carrying a whip, with her lead subordinates, a red cyclops, a green dragon, and yet another mistress. These artificial astral souls came from the discontinued comic series Temptation of Evil by Escafa on DeviantArt. This was the evil Empress Yumiya who planned to conquer the world with her army of drones, mindless assassin androids. That part was edited by me, by the way. Well, if it wasn't obvious. Because of the ambush, the 2 girls were struggling to defend the zoo, but that's when a secret trapdoor had opened in the basement of the main building. A figure from a bygone era had emerged from a kago and easily defeated the drones. Yumiya was attacked, but made a quick retreat, right after her red cyclops was toppled by this mysterious warrior. When Aisha and Asuka greeted the figure, it was revealed the warrior was in fact a woman. The woman revealed herself as Mecha Geisha, and says she was awakened because her ultimate evil had been revealed. Mecha Geisha's original purpose was to protect a small defenseless village during Edo, Japan. She was created using contemporary equipment, and by some magical powers, the wooden figure gained sentience. Her namesake was a juxtaposition upon the village's request. They wanted their defender to represent the best traits of Japan, the strength of a samurai and the beauty of a geisha. She served her people throughout the centuries, but eventually her long rest was meant to achieve her much higher purpose. Because of her mystical background, as technology advanced over time, Mecha Geisha's body and technology synced up with the devices we use today, explaining her more robot appearance and abilities. Now, as for why she was in America, sometime after World War I, American architects found her cargo in the abandoned, overgrown village and decided to ship it to New York for an upcoming museum that was meant to be built. However, the Great Depression happened, and the museum was never constructed, instead cementing the cargo underground as the foundation for new plans of making the land a zoo. Her blade was known as the Shadow Flower, once again a juxtaposition of her masculine and feminine traits. Even though her abilities were up to date, Mecha Geisha ran on batteries. In order for them to recharge, a certain amount of energy would have to be reached for her to participate in the fight. And this prompt led to perfect timing. Since 2014 was the 10-year anniversary of the Girl Wars, link here, there was some speculation that an anniversary event would happen. With that in mind, the Great War Alignment decided to make a collaboration with former members of the Jedi side of the war. Their services would be only as means to refuel Mecha Geisha's battery every battle. So think Captain Planet, but less preachy and less environmental friendly.
Coach, I've got AIDS.
However, because of her specific battery type, only a select few of the various Magic Girl groups would be of use for Mecha Geisha. The only ones that would be useful were the Guardians of the Veil from Witch and the Mew Mews from Tokyo Mew Mew. Even then, she still needed some more fuel for her batteries. So take a guess who she also employed. Yeah, the Digidestined. It always comes back to them. But they were pretty hot at the time because the 15-year Odaiba Day celebration had just occurred and the final month of Fox Kids Special was in motion. The recently wed Garomon helped make a geisha the most, especially in her Ofanimon form, because she had just been married in that form. On the flip side, Yumiya had a supply of drones and other hired assassins to target her rival. However, a secondary objective for the Guardians of the Zoo, as they were called, was to find out Yumiya's true intentions. And thus, that is the basis of Mecha Geisha. The storyline, not the character. The storyline begins in late August of 2014, and right away there is a pattern. Yumiya forces show up, some Guardians help out, and Mecha Geisha wraps it up. Again, think Captain Planet. But besides that, there were a couple of notable assassins that were sent out, one of which was the demoness Demonica from the artist mrinternetman. The Mistress of Madness popped in and out several times, strangely getting stronger each time. It is then revealed that Demonica holds a shard of the Shining Ray, an ultimate power source of the Warner alignment. With each shard grants the owner a unique power. For this case, Demonica has access to every universe version of herself and can copy them over, alongside her demon powers. Because of this massive threat, the Guardians had to decide what would be the best way for Mecha Geisha to defeat her. That's when somebody had a bizarre yet genius idea. Mecha Geisha was going to be sent out and receive a powerful sword, the Uni-Blade, a sword that could pierce through any matter in Shareverse. The only issue was who wields it. One of the most powerful Astral Souls in Shareverse, Jen Walters, who was currently serving her sentence in Hell's Prison. When I talk about my middle school storyline, I'll explain how she got there. Regardless, Mecha Geisha spared the Green Giant and eventually proved herself worthy to borrow the Uni-Blade. So the next time Demonica attacked the Guardians, well, she was in for a surprise. And don't worry, Demonica is not fully dead, she is a demon, so she's fine. Of course, Mecha Geisha would have to give the sword back to Jennifer, because A, that's her personal weapon, but B, it would have led to a continuity error in the Confession arc of Disney Fighting Evolution, where she has it again. Later in the year, there were two hired bounty hunters that fought the Guardians. Even though they were scantily clad, they did seem timid in fighting. When Mecha Geisha clashed with the two, she knew that they weren't in it for the power. Instead, they were on their own separate journey that just so happened to have a detour in the form of Yumiya. She let the two ladies go and offered them the advice to look elsewhere in continuing the search for their missing friend. This little incident may not be important now, but it will in future unit storylines. But let's move on to a more important point in this storyline, the finale. See, I told you these other unit storylines would be significantly shorter than Digital Defenders. The finale actually extends for at least a month, so mid-November to December. Yumiya's generic drones were on their last legs of mass production, so she continued to hire other Astral Souls for her bidding. In this case, she hired two artificial Astral Souls from DeviantArt, but not the ones you're thinking. Instead, it was Nami and Robin. Though there's several misconceptions here. First, it's their pre-time skip designs. Second, their strong worlds appearances. And third, they were much more hostile and aggressive to their co-workers from Super Smash Crew. I think it goes without saying that these are not the real Nami and Robin. Instead, artificial Astral Souls that Yumiya transformed in becoming the two Straw Hat Pirates. This is yet again another comic idea from escafa called Crossplay. Because of this, the Nami alternate had her climate baton, and Robin's alternate had Devil Fruit powers. However, this Robin could easily move in water, something that all Devil Fruit users can't do. Even though they were the 2 years younger versions of these characters, they were promised the more powerful post-time skip designs. So the ticking clock was set for the Guardians. The group and Mecha Geisha battled the remaining drones throughout December and clashed multiple times with the alternate Robin and Nami. Eventually, the real Straw Hats had to get involved, with the real counterparts fighting their fakers. But all of this would lead into the final confrontation on December 20th, 2014. The setting was Yumiya's kingdom, located in a rural, secluded area of Japan. During their final battle preparations, Mecha Geisha informs the Guardians that she needs to confront Yumiya by herself. It was her ultimate evil after all. The flip side was once she was defeated, Mecha Geisha's battery would be permanently shut down. Because of her ultimate evil being gone, she had no other purpose in her services. Regardless, she kept her personal issues to herself as the team began their flight to Japan. The final battle in the kingdom's courtyard was grand. What else? You had Italian-based witches, animal maid girls, a digital monster, and a group of pirates. However, Nami and Robin kept their fights with their alternates to themselves. But because this is the finale, of course, the two alternates were able to achieve their post-time skip forms, this time being derived off of their bathing suit designs from Film Z. This made the two much more stronger, even to the point where the alternate Robin imprisons her counterpart underwater. That ticking clock was even more urgent. Even though this new challenge was in the way, that didn't mean the Guardians didn't have a trick of their own. Ophanimon had been planning and designing a new Digimon form based on her infused Digicrystal enhancements. And with help from her father, they were able to create a form that displayed her full power. This was Mastemon. Because she had both Angelomon and Lady Devimon code, this form was the combined essence of her light and dark forms. She was able to turn the tide and defeat both the alternate Nami and Robin, as the others tried to rescue and resuscitate the original Robin. In fact, the Guardians who were also working at Super Smash Crew at the time joked that this would be a weird episode of the parody series. Weird indeed. But now, this storyline must come to a close. Mecha Geisha stormed the castle by herself, destroying the final drones and confronting the Cyclops and Dragon at once. But as she fought the two, her thoughts drifted off into what could have been. She awakened to a world alien to her and was only exposed to a small fraction of it. Once this battle was over, that was it. Nonetheless, defeating Yumiya was the sole purpose of her creation, protecting the innocents from evil. Once defeating the two beasts, though not killing them, her next foe was Black Lady Yuriko, the right-hand mistress of Yumiya. But while she was fighting her, she heard a cry for help. And after Mecha Geisha cut off Yuriko's mask, she made the horrific revelation. Yuriko was innocent in all of this. She was mind-controlled by Yumiya to do her bidding. And Yumiya's pure evil actions almost caused Mecha Geisha, a servant of peace, to take the life of an innocent child. This only fueled Mecha Geisha's motivation. Yumiya had to be stopped permanently. And so, she faced the Empress one-on-one. And while the two clashed, Mecha Geisha was looking for the right moment to land the finishing blow. Yumiya's magic was strong, giving her a protective shield with a very brief window of regenerating. Right when the moment came for Mecha Geisha to land the finishing blow, another cry for help echoed in her head. Mecha Geisha froze. The thought of Yumiya being an innocent person corrupted by evil was a possibility she never once considered. Yumiya, seeing her foe stop in place, gave her the opportunity to escape. She called her dragon from the balcony of her castle to pick her up. Mecha Geisha just watched as her so-called ultimate evil flew off into the night sky. Queen Yumiya and her subordinates were never seen again. The next few days, the Guardians tried to make sense from the sudden retreat, as well as Yumiya's true identity. There were some talks that she could have been actually her arch-nemesis, a magical girl hero named Hirioko, brainwashed to believe she was Yumiya, but there was no concrete proof to that. Well, aside from the comic, but it was because it was still in production at the time, but now it's discontinued, so nobody really knew the full origin story, and it wasn't considered concrete evidence. In January of 2015, there was a false alarm that could have led to Yumiya's new whereabouts, but nothing came out of it. Ultimately, with Mecha Geisha's battery running low again, the pursuit was not worth it. And so, on her own behalf, she sealed herself away in her cargo, knowing that one day Yumiya would return and her destiny would finally be accomplished. Until then, that is the story of Mecha Geisha. Once again, this storyline ends on a bummer note. The main character is not at peace, the main villain is supposedly running around scot-free. Nothing was fully accomplished. However, without giving anything away, these plot threads do get resolved in the future, but we're not there yet. I still got the other unit storylines to discuss before I could wrap all of these threads together. So, if you liked the video, consider hitting the like button, and for more units updates, consider subscribing. With that, I'm AJ, and I'll see you all in the next one.